As far as Bitcoin, I think it's kind of interesting. I believe so strongly in mathematics and purity and science as defining the world. And when humans put their own little scales and say, no, this is how we want to think, this is how we want to think, and not follow the math, you get wrong answers in my mind. So Bitcoin is mathematically defined. There's a certain quantity of Bitcoin. There's a way that it's distributed, that people who keep copies of the ledger have a way to get paid a little. And it's pure, and there's no human running it. There's no company running it, and it's just going and going and growing and growing and surviving. That, to me, says something about something that is natural, and nature is more important than all our human conventions.
You previously mentioned that you bought Bitcoin at around $700 and then sold it all because you were kind of tired of watching the price movement. Have you bought any more Bitcoin since then at a higher price?
No, my point is I never invested in Bitcoin. I was actually a little worried. Once all of a sudden the price went up and I had a lot of money in Bitcoin, I said, wait a minute, I only wanted my Bitcoin to experiment, to figure out how to buy things online, figure out how to go to other cities and find hotels and restaurants and places that would take Bitcoin, even ATMs. That was my purpose. So I sold off all my Bitcoin except one. I kept one to experiment with now, and I have 2 Ether, and that's it. So I am not an investor. I just... That was not my purpose at all. And I don't think, I want to buy more, To some people, I have recommended things based upon travels in the world. Over and over, I see big blockchain applications using Ethereum. And so sometimes I'll recognize Ethereum, is a platform. And platforms tend to grow because they've got millions of people working on developing, applications.
Do you see Bitcoin maintaining its dominance as you see the rise of these other platforms, the likes of Ether or Ripple, for example, and many of the other blockchain platforms that are coming to market?
Yeah, we've seen 100 sort of Bitcoin copies, and some are faster, and some are a little centralized control, some have other advantages. Only Bitcoin is pure digital gold, and that's the phrase that's used, and I totally buy into that. All the others tend to give up some of the aspects of Bitcoin. For example, being totally decentralized and having no central control. That's the first one they have to give up to try to have a business model. How the math on Bitcoin was so correct that it still works.
So digital gold rather than currency, because Jack Dorsey, the Twitter CEO, recently said he believes Bitcoin could become the global currency of the world in 10 years. And so is that something you buy into, or do you see it more as something that people park their money into and leave rather than a transactional thing?
I buy into what Jack Dorsey says, not that I necessarily believe it's going to happen, but because I want it to be that way. That is so pure thinking. Sometimes you wind up later on saying, I got sold. I could have been smarter.
Do you have a view on where, I know you said you're kind of sick of watching the prices going up, but do you have a view on actually how much value you think Bitcoin could have in the future in terms of price?
Bitcoin is, because it's regulated in its quantity, you get down to supply and demand. And as more and more people want it and demand it, there was a hype going on for a period when it went up to 20,000. It's down, I don't know where it is, because I don't ever track it. But so if the demand increases and it becomes more and more popular for more things and people start using it, there is no extra supply. It's limited. It's fixed.
And so for you, the value...
in terms of dollars,
yeah.
Fiat currency of a country, yes, Bitcoin will go up and up over time. And it won't happen. It may be sloppy at first, and things that change that much in life take a long time to change. They tend to go slowly. We had a crash in the internet age, and I see that going on with a lot of blockchain things, including Bitcoin itself right now.
Yeah. And are you worried about some of the fundamentals at the moment? And actually, if there is this bubble and we've seen some of that air come out the market, that could actually hamper the development of the technology?
Well, I kind of disagree with that, because blockchain in all forms is so popular and being studied by so many people and in demand by so many companies to look into changing their business in the future. It may be long term. I do see it, as you said, as a bubble. in the sense that there's a huge amount of interest in it right now, but things aren't going to change that rapidly. That's what the internet bubble was about.
And looking at the underlying technology, blockchain, we've seen a lot of banks experimenting with it. We've seen a lot of companies starting to try to dip their toes into that. How long do you feel it is until this becomes a widespread technology?
I'm going to give it about 10 to 15 years. I would say the same as, here was the internet, and the internet had promises of, oh my gosh, all your purchases online and your bank reservations and your airplane reservations, your bank accounts, everything was going to be online. And the trouble is we had a big crash of all the companies started up to compete that. And yet here it is in 2018. All of our life, everything we do with these third-party apps to do this, say, oh my gosh, what this saved me. It's so wonderful a world. It was the world we talked about then, but it just doesn't happen instantly because people have to have their mindset change. Culture and tradition and status quo and the way things are doesn't change that rapidly instantly when it's that huge.